I mean, parts of the whole industry I've turned my back on. AAA studios, no. Indie studios are where it's at. Well, howdy. Nearly Senior Citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non-binary friends, and welcome to this, a brand new day. It's sunny outside, so hopefully it's not going to get too hot. But it is summer, so joy on that. I slept better than I had the previous night. And that's a good thing, because the previous night I had pretty horrific insomnia. And so because of that, I fell asleep more than I liked during the daytime in the chair, and with sleep apnea. Not good to fall asleep and then stop breathing with no sleep apnea mask. But I did okay, and that's a good thing, and slept better, a very, very good thing indeed. So hopefully I won't fall asleep as much today. That would be good indeed as well. And of course, front-loading of videos. Hey, if you like what you hear and see, if you could toss me a like, that'd be very cool. And if you like what you hear and see and you haven't subscribed to the channel, if you could, that'd be very awesome. If you could leave me a comment, that'd be very, very cool. And I would like to thank each and every one of my Patreon patrons. These literally beautiful and literally awesome people help to keep me literally alive. Without their help, I would not be able to survive, and I don't want to become homeless. I will die, and without these people's help, that would be a problem. If you would like to help keep me surviving, there are links to my Patreon in the video description, and if you'd like to help me out without becoming a Patreon, there's a PayPal link, and if you'd like to help me out without sending money, there's an Amazon wishlist link with stuff like cat food on it. And of course, if you don't want to help me out at all, you don't have to. No requirement. Thumbs up for that. But hey, front loading of video is over. Thumbs up. So I tried to do as much as I could yesterday. I've played very, very few games in the past couple of days, and I do feel bad about that, because I've played video games my whole life. In fact, I even stressed while my wife was alive that because I had been so interested in video games and electronics and computers my whole life, that interest was only going to get stronger as I get older. And it has. I mean, parts of the whole industry I've turned my back on. AAA studios, no. Indie studios are where it's at. So that sort of stuff has changed, and my view on where video games are going because of hypercapitalism is not a good view, but still, I believe in a lot of this stuff, and with hope and all that. I can't remember where I was going. Oh yes, I haven't been playing as many video games over the past couple days. I am taking my new ADHD med, which is also an antidepressant. And so I am again in medical change and flux, because it takes, for the antidepressant part, a few weeks to work. I do not know what to expect ADHD-wise, except I have been able to remember long-term wise much, much better over the past couple days. That's a definite thumbs up right there. So hopefully that part's going to continue to get better, because I want to go play my games again. There's a lot of good games that I want to play before I end up kicking off. So, thumbs up on that. Past that, just been listening to music. I can't remember if I mentioned this before. Back in 1982, there was a group called Slow Children that came out with an album called Mad About Town. It was a new wave album that was mostly acoustic with some synths on it. And they never really went anywhere, but I really liked that album. And just the other day, I went boink and remembered it. After decades, and then searched it out on YouTube, and somebody uploaded the full album. So I've been listening once again to Slow Children, Mad About Town. So if you'd like to hear what acoustic new wave from 1982 sounded like, Slow Children, Mad About Town. Hopefully I've got one of those link things, or in the description I put a link to the album, because it's worth listening to. Definitely a thumbs up on that. And then just past that, I went on walkies. I've tried to eat food. I've gained some weight back because I've been eating more junk than I should. And so that's a lot of processed calories. I haven't gained a lot. It's only been like 10 pounds. So yay, but 10 pounds is still 10 pounds. But I went walkies and did as much creative thinking as I could while I was going walkies. There's a lot of stuff that's non-creative that keeps coming up, but if it's stuff that I can't do anything about immediately, I don't even want to think about it. This is my be creative time when I'm out walkies. So I'm going to do a bit of talking about creative stuff now with the Kaiju and a whole bunch of other stuff, because I still like the Kaiju. Well, like as a character, the Kaiju and all the horrible, horrible stuff. And I still just want to stress that while it's evil, it's not evil. We would consider it evil because it has to devour us to live. And it has to get fat by eating people before it goes into torpor. I mean, it has to be fat from all the people it's eaten. It has to fill its entire digestive system with chewed and swallowed human meat so that it can survive the time of torpor. If it doesn't eat that many people over that much time, it's not gonna survive. So it's not even killing and eating out of hatred, it's just sheer survival. But it is very smart, and it is very resourceful. When it during its first 3 billion year stretch, it had to figure all this stuff out on its own, and it filled itself with meat because it could after the destruction of its universe and its forced new role as the Kaiju. It spent that first 3 billion years filling itself and making itself fat, and when it went into torpor, that was a surprise. Not that it went into torpor, but that it had to. And it just happened to have made itself fat and filled itself up. But because it didn't know what was going to happen, it came very close to starving to death on that first iteration when it had to sleep for 1.2 billion years. So it knows how many people it has to devour, and it also learned several things because it goes into hibernation. Hibernation slows its metabolism down on its body, but not its mind. It can push its mind and presence and focus of attention outside of itself during hibernation. And so it can look and travel and observe and interact with everything throughout the entirety of the razor's edge while it is in hibernation. And it has also discovered several things. One of the things is it can push with pressure to influence things. Getting things done quickly is not really a good way to use its energy and time. If you had to get up from a chair, let's say it takes 30 seconds, long point. You get up out of a chair, you walk across the room, you knock a book which is sitting on its edge, so it's up like this, you hit it, it falls over, you turn around, you sit back down in your chair. Maybe 30 seconds. And how much energy you've expended to get up and do that, that's maybe 2 calories maximum. So you could get that done. Now, if the Kaiju wanted to use its point of pressure like that of an attention to try and get it done, it would have to expend about 100,000 calories of pressure and attention and maybe have a 5% chance of getting it done in that 30 seconds. So it's a lot of energy being expended for a very, very small chance that you can get it done. But if you take that point of attention and pressure and you stretch it out so it's like a week, it takes less pressure, less calories, and the chance goes up. Not by much, but it does. Stretch that attention out a year, with all of that pressure, oh, you're down to like 60,000 calories and maybe a 25% chance. Stretch it out 10 years, it takes hardly any effort at all to do it, and the chances are getting better. Stretch it out 100 years of pressure, and the expenditure of energy, it's come down so close to zero, it might as well be zero. And your odds of getting it done, guaranteed. And since the Kaiju can really focus attention and influence a lot of things, quite literally, you could have somebody get up, walk across the room, and just before they're about to tap the book, the Kaiju's pressure of 100 years makes the book go thump just before you can get to it. Given enough time, it takes no effort at all to do things. All you have to do is plan. And since the Kaiju can put points of attention, little bits of itself in spots, which is actually a bit of itself, just like we focus our attention, it can focus its attention in places while still having its main attention doing other things. It puts just enough of itself into these to observe and push. And given 100 years of observing and pushing, whatever it wants to get done will happen down to the microsecond, perfectly the way it wishes to do. Which is why there's such a huge problem on the Night of Terror when it eats 12,000 people. Because 100 and some odd years prior to this, it had used its influence and points of pressure to influence a family, to cause a whole lot of paranoia, and they built up natural gas resources and reserves throughout each of their properties throughout the town because of paranoia about thermal. And they retrofitted all of their stuff and had a whole bunch of these natural gas reserves put in. But it was all obfuscated and deliberately moved into departments with maps that, for what little bit of information that the official channels got, was all spread out in such a way that you couldn't put it together. And after a lot of work and a lot of effort, they had all of these tanks and systems put up to power their properties with natural gas. But because of the way they had been influenced, nobody really knew about the full extensive work of what they had done. And just before things go bad, a government official had been putting maps together and trying to figure out stuff in the town, and found this one storage tank and started getting the maps together. And it was so hard to get the stuff together, so difficult, so many departments, and so much obfuscation, but finally he was able to stack the maps in such a way as to give an image of what was really happening underneath the city with this natural gas stuff. And what he saw terrified him, because of all of these maps showed huge storage tanks. And if you stack them all together, underneath each of the properties were massive amounts of huge storage tanks for natural gas that hadn't been inspected in over 125 years. So he and an assistant get stuff together, head down, start using the maps and directions that he has made. They're able to break through walls and pierce things to actually find the service tunnels and access areas, go through cracked concrete to get into corridors, and they find their way to the very bottom to inspect one of the tanks in the room. And when they finally get inside, the room is just roiling with natural gas. The tanks are just rotten metal, still highly pressurized, but leaking, and everything is just a mess. So he just wants to get stuff together so that all this can be fixed. But because this stuff hasn't been inspected or even really known about for 125 years, there's a whole bunch of things that are bad. Like all the lighting is a bunch of bulbs that got replaced like well over 100 years ago. Nobody uses these bulbs anymore. except the storage tanks, because they have a habit over time of they will eventually, through stress, begin to short out, and then they can shatter. And then there's a fire risk because these white hot pieces of metal will get fired through the glass of the bulb. Well, one of these points of pressure just happens to be in each one of these chambers underneath each of the facilities throughout the town of Apple Rock. And when these people at 12:59 and change a.m. looking around go, oh my God, we need to get this fixed. One of the bulbs in each of these places that's been turning off and shorting, and then pa, coming back on, and then flicker, 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 pa-pum. Pa, flicker, 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 pa, goes pop, and white hot shards of metal fire through the glass and into the chambers filled with a highly flammable mixture of oxygen and natural gas. And over the top and around each of these facilities, what had also been being built were all these iron and concrete berms, so that as these things exploded, these berms kept the chambers from exploding outward. And it couldn't go down because the world is down there, and the berms are holding in the force. And so the bombs that they've become have nowhere to go but the force straight up, granulating everything above them, going into the more of the tanks, which are exploding harder under greater pressure, firing upward. Each of these 5 properties had what is basically a gigantic shotgun barrel underneath. And when they fire, everything goes up and outward, granulated like a charged blast. Nothing survived that stuff. Everything in those areas, including the city above and all the people that live there, granulated into little pieces smaller than, well, grains of sand. Quite a mess. And it takes next to no effort for the Kaiju to set these things up. It can put up well over 500,000 of these points of pressure before it even has any attention problems. The Kaiju has plans all around Apple Rock. And I've opened up 24 hours worth of comments in my community tab. Going to go through and thank however many people have left me comments in the past 24 hours. If I mispronounce a username, no disrespect is intended. And even though I count American Sign Language, well, you've already seen how my brain works. And I have too. We have Tommy Copeland. I am very glad that you are out. It is sad. But thank you very much for the comment. Good to see you. There is Heck, thumbs up and thank you. Big Al, greatly appreciated. Thumbs up. We have Natster A, greatly appreciated. Sacred Liquid, thumbs up, thank you much. And I hope it turns out to be a good quest. JAYY, thumbs up, thank you very much and good to see you. Leslie Dill, Leslie D, greatly appreciated. What happened to my vocal cords? Greatly appreciated. We have Inco Infinity 2, thumbs up and thank you. PL Pro, greatly appreciated. There is Leah Sanma, thumbs up. Kryptonite, always good to see you in the comments. And oh, that quest, yeah, that doesn't sound good. There is Mateo Lopez, thumbs up and thank you. Eric 404, greatly appreciated. Ben B, always good to see you as well. Kapaki, good to see you in the comments as well. It's been a time, it seems, to my brain. And there is Adrian, thumbs up and thank you much. Destroyer Will, thumbs up and thank you. We have Jesse Koskinen, always good to see you in the comments as well, my friend. And that is it. 16 to 18 people who left me comments in the past 24 hours. It is greatly appreciated. You get me out of my head and into the world and dealing with real people, if only in text and if only for a short time. Thumbs up and thank you very, very much. Well, hokey smokes, I'm going to try and do as much as I can to try and be as healthy and good as I can today. Hopefully you can do as much as you can as well. That would be a very good thing. And of course, with all the various pandemics and diseases that are out there, please just take appropriate precautions. Do what you have to not get diseases. Do what you can to not pass them on to people who may be immunocompromised and unable to fight off this disease that you think is a joke. People are dying still, and things are spiking. So please, just be smart, take appropriate precautions, think of yourself and others. Don't toss your body onto the end of life corpse pile before you have to. So, until we meet again, you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side, and that is a very good thing.